Hello students, today we shall see the next point of process management, that is process scheduling. What is process scheduling? The process scheduling is the activity of the process manager that handles the removal of the running process from the CPU and the selection of another process on the basis of a particular strategy. So process scheduling is which process should be given to the CPU for execution and which process has to be removed from the CPU. Process scheduling is an essential part of a multi-programming operating system. Now what is multi-programming operating system? When more than one programs are running in a computer, the operating system has to decide which program will be executed first, which program will be executed next, and so on. This is nothing but process scheduling. Such operating system allow more than one process to be loaded into the executable memory at a time, and the loaded process shares the CPU using time multiplexing. Process scheduling allows operating system to allocate a time interval of CPU execution for each process. Another important reason for using process scheduling system is that it keeps the CPU busy all the time. The CPU time is very important. The CPU should never be remain idle. So we use process scheduling to keep the CPU busy all the time. The objective of multiprogramming is to have some process running at all times to maximize CPU utilization. The objective is to switch the CPU among processes so frequently that users can interact with each program while it is running. If there are more processes, the rest will have to wait until the CPU is free and can be rescheduled. Next we are going to see process scheduling queues. So to implement process scheduling, we are going to require some data structures, and that is process scheduling queues. The operating system maintains all PCB, that is process control block, in process scheduling queues. The operating system maintains a separate queue for each process state, and process control blocks of all processes in the same execution state are placed in the same queue. When the state of a process is changed, its PCB is unlinked from its current queue and moved to its new state queue. Okay, so for implementing process scheduling, we are going to require some process scheduling queues. The operating system maintains the following important process scheduling queues. So the first queue is the job queue. This queue keeps all the processes in the system. All processes upon entering into the system are stored in this queue. As process enter the system, they are put into a job queue. So all the processes in the system are first put in this queue, and this queue is known as the job queue. Next is the ready queue. This queue keeps a set of all processes residing in main memory ready and waiting to execute. A new process is always put in this queue. This queue is generally stored as a linked list. So we are going to use the linked list data structure to implement this ready queue. A ready queue header will contain pointers to the first and the last process control blocks in the list. Each process control block has a pointer field that points to the next process in the ready queue. So the second queue we required for process scheduling is ready queue. And the last queue is the device queue. The processes which are blocked due to unavailability of an input or output device constitute this queue. So when we require any input or output device, and suppose that particular device is being allocated to some other process, then this process has to wait. So this process will be put in that device queue. The list of the processes waiting for a particular input output device is called a device queue. Each queue has its own device queue. Each device has its own device queue. Now we are going to see how all the job scheduling or process scheduling queues are going to work. Initially all the processes will be put in the job queue. From the job queue, the long-term scheduler will put or select the jobs and put it in ready queue. Then the short-term scheduler will select the jobs from the ready queue and give it to the CPU for execution. If the process completes its execution, it will terminate and exit. So if the process requires some input or output, it will be put in the input output waiting queue, and then it will be allocated to a particular input output device. When it completes with its input output operation, it will be again put in the ready queue. If we select a process from the ready queue, give it for the execution, and an interrupt occurs, that process will be removed from the CPU, put back into the ready queue, and when the CPU will finish processing the interrupt, it will take that process back from the ready queue. So every new process is first put in the ready queue. It waits in the ready queue until it is finally processed for execution. Here the new process is put in the ready queue and wait until it is selected for execution or it is dispatched. One of the processes allocated the CPU and it is executing. The process should issue an input-output request. Then it should be placed in the input-output queue. The process should be waiting for its termination. It should remove forcefully from the CPU, as a result interrupt. Once interrupt is completed, it should be set back to the ready queue. Next we shall see the scheduling objectives. So why we are going to do process scheduling? First, maximize the number of interactive users within acceptable response times. And next objective is achieve a balance between response and utilization. The main objective of process scheduling is to maximize the CPU utilization. Next we are going to see the types of schedulers. Schedulers are nothing but the softwares which are going to select the processes from the queue and give it to the CPU for execution. A process migrates between the various scheduling queues throughout its lifetime. The operating system must select for scheduling purposes processes from these queues in some manner. The selection process is carried out by the appropriate scheduler. So the first is the long-term scheduler. The job scheduler or long-term scheduler selects processes from the storage pool in the secondary memory and loads them into the ready queue in the main memory for execution. The long-term scheduler controls the degree of multiprogramming. The job of the long-term scheduler is very important and directly affects the system for a long time. So the processes from the job queue will be selected and put into the ready queue with the help of the long-term scheduler. Next, short-term scheduler. It selects one of the processes from the ready queue and schedules them for execution. The short-term scheduler executes much more frequently than the long-term scheduler, as a process may execute only for a few milliseconds. The choices of the short-term scheduler are very important. Short-term scheduling is also known as CPU scheduler or dispatcher, which makes the decision of which process to execute next. Short-term schedulers are faster than long-term schedulers. So short-term scheduler is going to select a process from the ready queue and give it or allocate it to the CPU. Next or the last scheduler is midterm scheduler. Midterm scheduling is a part of swapping. It removes the processes from the memory. It reduces the degree of multiprogramming. The medium term scheduler is in charge of handling the swapped out processes. Next we are going to see scheduling criteria. So what things we have to think about when we are going to do process scheduling? Many criteria have been suggested. The criteria include, first, the most important, that is CPU utilization. The main objective of any CPU scheduling algorithm is to keep the CPU as busy as possible. It should make efficient use of the CPU. CPU utilization is a fraction of the time that the CPU is busy on the average executing either the user process or the operating system. Next criteria is throughput. A measure of work done by the CPU is the number of processes being executed and completed per unit time. This is called throughput. So the number of processes which are given to the CPU for execution and which give us the final output and terminate is known as the throughput. The scheduling algorithm must look to maximize the number of jobs processed per time unit. If the CPU is busy executing processes, then the work is being done. Throughput refers to the total productive work done by all the users put together. So the scheduling criteria throughput is used to maximize the throughput. Next criteria is turnaround time. The time elapsed from the time of submission of a process to the time of completion is known as the turnaround time. So the time we give the program to the CPU for execution and the time we get the final output and complete the process is known as the turnaround time. The turnaround time is the sum of time spent waiting to get into memory, waiting in the ready queue, executing in the CPU and waiting for input output. So this turnaround time should be minimum. Next criteria is waiting time. A scheduling algorithm does not affect the time required to complete the process once it starts execution. It only affects the waiting time of a process, that is time spent by a process waiting in the ready queue. It is the time a job waits for resource allocation when several jobs are competing in multi-programming system. The aim is to minimize the waiting time. The last criteria is response time. The time taken from submission of the process of request until the first response is produced. This measure is called response time. A scheduler must aim to minimize response time for interactive user. The time for the submission of a request until the first response is produced. Now what is the difference between turnaround time and response time? Turnaround time is the time when we give a program for execution and we get the final output and the program terminates. But response time is, suppose we have given a C program for execution, we press Ctrl F9. That time is the time the program will get converted into a process. And when we see the output, the first output on the screen, that is, suppose enter a number, that is the first response given to the user. So that time is known as the response time. In general, CPU utilization and throughput are maximized and other factors are reduced for proper optimization. Thank you.